I am very excited for this match of StarCraft 2. So last week, when this game was played, somebody posted a highlight clip to the StarCraft 2 subreddit with the ending of this game. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's absolutely spectacular. I'm very excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. Secondly, besides the spectacular ending, which, you know, on its own would already be enough for me to go ahead and cast it, it's a game between two of my personal favorite pro gamers. So maybe a little bit of bias coming in there. And then lastly, it was played during the Team Liquid map contest. So this is played on a brand new map, and it's called Amphion. This is going to be my very first time casting a game on this map, so we're going to be checking it out together. Spawning right here, in the top left-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have Dark. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Protoss pieces, he goes by the name of MaxPax. Now it looks like, yeah, Dark is not playing against Hero, so he has not opted to go for a proxy hatchery on the other side of the map. That gives us a little bit of time to discuss what this map is all about. So I decided to pull up the map description of the map maker. Her name is May on Fire, and she writes the following. So, natural expansions on this map have a backdoor with reduced minerals that lead to safe pocket bases. As tempting as they may seem, mining them out opens a direct path towards your opponent. Okay, so that's gotta be these mineral fields right over here. Yeah, okay, I can imagine that Zerg players are gonna feel like this is the more likely third base to take, but yeah, with a ramp leading up towards the high ground over here and these rocks needing to be destroyed, I guess it's a pretty good option, especially as a Terran as well as a Protoss. Then she writes, there's a right side of the map that has a restricting path that helps players secure bases by expanding into the middle. Okay, so there's an expansion over here. And then, yeah, you do have to expand in the direction of your opponent if you decide to go for this one. Skinny mineral fields over here as well, so you can mine these out and open a lot more space into a little hybrid base on the right side of the map. And yeah, okay, there's another one as well on the left side too. Interesting, okay. So there's hybrid bases with golden minerals. Yeah, we've already seen those. There's natural expansions with mineable backdoors with 2 rows of 5 minerals each. There's a forward 4th/5th base that has a mineral wall next to it as well. There's a significantly faster distance by air than by ground. So because of the fact that the players spawned in, well, the top left as well as the bottom left, yeah, the air-to-air space is quite a bit shorter than the ground-to-ground. And then, in general, there's a dynamic expansion pattern. Okay. So, let's find out together if this map is any good. So, the theme for this particular map contest this time around is freestyle. So, normally there's a couple different categories for the maps to be submitted into. So, there's macro maps and rush maps and all the rest of it. For this particular Team Liquid map contest, they are all freestyle. So, they're all the weirdest category of maps. I can imagine a lot of pro gamers are not going to be the biggest of fans of it, but I think as viewers and as commentators, we're going to be enjoying it quite a bit. But obviously the maps do need to be balanced, and one of the reasons why StarCraft 2 maps generally all look the same is because, well, they need to be balanced, right? And if one race is just absolutely atrocious on a map, it's just a bit of a shame. So far, not a bad beginning right here for MaxPax. Although I haven't really been looking at the game, but everything seems to be on point. I'm going to be paying attention to the game right now, okay? Everything is very normal. He's got himself a regular timing right over here at the 3rd base location. Dark doesn't really have that many workers, but it's Dark we're talking about. This man, he doesn't really follow build orders very much. Now he goes for a 4-minute and 20-second Spore Crawler. Fair enough. He's a very free-flowing Zerg, right? So in general, very good at the game. Very cheesy as well as of late, especially when he's going up against Hero, who he, seems to be facing off against multiple times a week. And in general, like, the weird thing about Dark, right, is that he's one of the very best late-game players in the entire game. But it always seems to me that he's trying to avoid that to the best of his abilities. So he's got phenomenal late-game control. He doesn't really ever seem to lose a lot of late game, but lately, at the very least, like, I haven't seen him play it a whole lot, but lately he seems to try and end the game as quickly as possible. A lot of Nidus Worm shenanigans, a lot of Queen drops, a lot of timing attacks in general. But that is mostly against the Korean Protoss players that he's very familiar with, right? And yeah, I can imagine that MaxPax is very cheese-proof. So MaxPax plays a very European style of Protoss in the sense that he is rock solid. He doesn't really take a lot of chances. He doesn't really take a lot of risks. He doesn't play a cheesy style whatsoever. I think it's one of those approaches where you basically just mass games. So that's what MaxPax does. He's basically online all day, every day. You mass as many games as possible, and then you learn the defense to all of the different types of aggression that the opponents can throw at you. So he's very particular with the way that he executes his build orders, and there's, yeah, very little amounts of randomness. He likes to eliminate that as much as possible from his play. Now, obviously, we are on a new map. I can imagine that both of these players have only played maybe 1, 2, maybe 3 games on the map so far. Not exactly sure how far along this was played into the tournament, right? I highly doubt that Dark and MaxPax would meet in round number 1, so maybe they've played a couple of games on this map so far, but there's a lot of maps that need to be tested, so yeah. Generally speaking, the map meta is going to be mostly undetermined. Okay. Good amount of worker kills, though, all things considered, especially if you don't lose anything. Yep, 10 workers killed in total. Not bad whatsoever. As long as you keep all of those oracles alive. Okay, it's gonna be a Nidus Worm together with an infestation pit. So, Swarm Host? Swarm Host Nidus? Interesting. Generally, we don't see a lot of Swarm Host play. Yeah, he's gonna need some units though, so he's making a lot of Roach Ravager Ling right now, because he's gonna need a lot of units against this particular Stalker attack. So, Blink is done, getting the console on that, lovely work. Snipes the drone as well. Puts down a stasis ward, but I think he's about ready to go back home once again. So, MaxPax actually, together with Dark, completely avoiding that pocket base for now. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna start mining it out, but as a third, it does seem a little extreme for sure. There's the Swarm House coming up. 4th hatchery gets remade, but at this point, MaxPax is gonna finish his 4th Nexus significantly before the Zerg, which is not a situation that we normally see in StarCraft 2. Alright, so is he prepared though against Swarm Hosts? That's the big question. Nidus Worm going up right outside of the main base, and this is actually a really powerful position. Yeah, a lot of structures that are ripe for the taking there, because obviously those locusts, they can fly through the air. Okay, nice little bit of control. This choke point over here is actually amazing. Yeah, it makes it very difficult for Zerglings to chase. There's the Swarm Host. Locust, deploy! We have a couple more. There you go. This will be the first time that Mr. MaxPax finds out about it. Another Nidus Worm going up on the right side of the map. What are we gonna target? The upgrades. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Alright, that Forge is super dead. Now anything else is a bonus. So this takes a lot of the momentum out of MaxPax's style, right? This takes the wind out of his sails, because generally speaking, a lot of the Protoss timing attacks, they are based around upgrades. So you finish upgrades, so in this particular case, it would have been charged together with the +2. You finish upgrades, you go for an attack, but not really an option anymore at this point. So instead, it's gonna force MaxPax to play very defensively. Now, he did catch the Nidus Worm over here on the right side of the map. That's nice. Maybe a little bit too predictable right there by Dark, because you pretty much always go for one Nidus on the left and then another Nidus on the right, right? And where exactly are you gonna position them? This is another beautiful position for Swarm Host. Look at that. That base is in so much trouble. I think you could actually yeah, you could probably target the Nexus itself, but it's very risky. Locust DPS is actually kind of absurd, so look at the amount of damage being done right here. Battery overcharge keeping a bunch of Stalkers alive, but that dealt more damage than the Zerglings and the Roaches have done so far. Prism in the top right-hand corner. We have an instant transition, by the way, towards the... what are they called? Colossi, there you go. Sorry guys, I've only been casting this game for now, well, nearly 14 years. Maybe I've not been casting every single day, but... I've been casting this game for a short amount of time at the very least. You can't expect me to be aware of all of the unit names yet. The Colossus is coming up right now, and that's going to be a really helpful transition against Locusts that have landed. Okay. MaxPax taking a page out of Hero's book, regardless of Hero being, well, not in this game, but super annoying. There are, yeah, quite a few photon cannons set up, though. Did the Prism fall? I'm gonna back up for just a second. Yep, Prism must have fallen here. Uncharacteristic mistake. Normally, actually, MaxPax is very good at keeping that alive. So this is while those Zerglings are running in. So maybe the Zerglings themselves won't do a lot of damage, but the Prism does end up going down. And that is gonna slow down MaxPax even more. Now the Locust, yeah, they're just here to be as obnoxious as possible. Zerglings in the main base still running around. Ultimately though, this is a transition. Ooh, they tried jumping it! No. Colossus is not gonna fall. Will the Nexus fall? Look at that, even with a battery overcharge! Okay, it will stay alive, but that was really close. It's a transition towards Lurkers here from Dark. Lurker Viper would be excellent on the back of this. So this is sort of like that style that we saw Scarlet play recently. Where Scarlet just... yeah, she did all of this as well, what Dark is doing, but then she didn't really make the transition towards Vipers. I'm assuming we will be seeing Dark play Vipers, but only time will tell. He doesn't have infinite amounts of gas here, because he's got to get a lot of upgrades, but I think right about right now would be a good time to go ahead and at the very least consider adding on a couple of Vipers. Problem is, if Dark doesn't, MaxPax's maxed out army is gonna hit like a truck. There's still a lot of supply caught up in those swarm hosts, and swarm hosts are very supply inefficient, so yeah, it's a very bloated amount of Zerg supply at the moment. Okay. Pocket base being acquired right here by MaxPax. Interestingly enough, he didn't mine out the mineral wall at all, so he decided to go around the corner and then around the corner once again. So May on Fire, she anticipated this being the pocket base that Zerg players and Protoss players would take in the earlier stages of the game. But both Dark and MaxPax looked at it once, and I guess I looked at it once too. Yeah, not really what you want to be doing here. Anyhow. Nice flank right here by MaxPax though, catching a lot of those roaches for essentially free. 27 drones coming up for Dark. Did I just see that correctly? I think he just made like, yeah, almost 30 workers all at the same time. So, am I mistaken? Did I just hallucinate? I feel like I saw a ton of... yeah, no, I saw the tail end of it on the production tab. So, he made 27 workers all at the same time. That is kind of ridiculous. He's still not at a very high amount of workers though, all things considered. MaxPax, by the way, pretty worker heavy, yeah. So maybe watching some of those Rainer games has been inspiring, or after seeing him go for mass upgrades and mass workers, albeit the slightly more reasonable version of it. Double Stargate on the back of this together with a fleet beacon right now as well for the Protoss. Okay. Yeah, it's difficult to push into a lurker-based army with ground units. So somebody like Harstem, he would be going into mass immortal production against this lurker style. At the very least, that seems what he does most of the time. But it's clear that most other Protoss players just don't agree with that. Albeit, yeah, I'm pretty impressed actually with the way that Harstem has been playing StarCraft 2 as of late. That ground-based army certainly seems to catch a lot of Zerg players off guard. Anyways, MaxPax slowing down the game, at least as far as the tech goes, but he's being very aggressive here with the amount of units that he's throwing at the opponent, dealing a tremendous amount of damage here to Dark, who's scrambling around as many of his units as possible to try and defend, but he just doesn't have that much. Yeah, it's that weird moment when you have 13 swarm hosts, all you really have is just a bunch of Hydras and a bunch of Lurkers, but that's it. So MaxPax really abusing that amount of Zerg units that's available right now by running all around the map. So technically speaking, I think it should have been the Zerg player that had that map control with the Nidus Worm, but beautiful gameplay right here by MaxPax, showing us that despite all of the aggression from the Zerg, you can still be pretty aggro as well as a Protoss. Tempests are coming out. And these are really strong units against that ground-based Zerg army. Hydras are not very good when it comes to fighting air units. So obviously they do have an anti-air attack, but there's a lot of good counters that Protoss has against Hydras in particular. So usually what you do as a Zerg is transition towards Corruptors. But at this point we don't yet have Vipers, we don't yet have a Spire. So Dark, yeah, he's prepared against the ground-based Protoss army, but that's not what he's playing against. Well, he's playing against it for now, but as time goes by, MaxPax's army will grow out of control and it will grow into the skies. I think Dark simply doesn't know yet. Yeah, that's a big problem for him. Okay, good bit of damage being done, though. Slow push here from Dark. He's gonna have to add on spellcasters before too long. He really doesn't have a choice. Be it Vipers or even Infestors, both are a good option. Okay, this base here will be pushed away. MaxPax doesn't really want to reveal the secret yet, but whoa, a lot of lurkers here on the low ground. Okay, now the Tempests do have to show themselves. Same for that carrier. Lurkers coming in from every angle, though. Swarmos now also raining a bunch of locusts. Not all too many, only about half of the Swarmos getting activated there. Vipers now coming up. Dark actually does decide to go for Hydras as his anti-air unit of choice. I feel like I've seen that go wrong so many times over the last couple of months, but fair enough. Insane amount of damage done here, though. Ay, 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 ay. Always that counter-attack, right, from MaxPax. He's under so much pressure at home, but then he still sends a bunch of zealots towards the other side of the map. MaxPax doubling down on the amount of carriers that he's producing. So that was an insane fight. 45 probes have gone down. 49 in total in this game. 30 drones as well. So income-wise, yeah, look at that. Dark immediately going up the roller coaster here. Takes a massive lead. The problem is he needs to address that Skytle's army. And at this point, he's not quite there yet. Oh, we're gonna need a little bit of detection. Okay, there you go. There's an observer in the mix here. Look at this absolute Giga Chad, trying his very best to just detect as many of those cloak units as possible. This is a dangerous moment, though, for MaxPax. So at this point, Vipers are out. And when one of those carriers gets abducted at a time, life is very dangerous. Those Swarmos are actually super nice to still have around. In a scrappy game like this one, those are units that are pretty rare, actually, for Zerg, all things considered. Those are units that gain value over time. Generally speaking, Zerg units are like, you throw them in once, and that's about it. Shutting down the tech here. Look at that. Nidus Worm in the main base, too. Those Locusts providing vision. That's the Templar Archives together with a Stargate going down. MaxPax decides to pull the trigger at this point. He's going across the map. Does he have enough stuff to win the game at this point in time? Okay. Yeah, this is a Bulldozer army. Vipers are nice and all, but we do need a follow-up. Just not that many Zerg units available, so a lot of damage done just now here by the Zerg, but he needs to address the main army, and I'm not entirely convinced that he's got the units for it. Okay. Ooh, Parasitic Bomb over there is going to deal a lot of damage. A lot more Hydras are coming out as well. Good split off right there by MaxPax. Those Archons are making it very difficult, though, for the Zerg army to engage. And you know what? There's only like one or two... two Colossi here in the mix, but they're actually so good at roasting a lot of these units at the same time, though. The Swarmos are coming in from the left, going after whatever ground unit they can hit. Okay. There are still some lurkers available. Hydras moving forward. Very scrappy game right now. Another Parabomb there as well. Good bit of damage being done. We see an abduction too. That's one of the carriers going down. Another carrier taking a lot of damage. Looks like all of the Colossi have disappeared at this point, which is going to make those Hydras a lot more lethal. Another Locust Wave is yet available again, but we should really be sending it across the map instead at this point. Maybe force the Protoss player to retreat. In the meantime, though, MaxPax has been rebuilding some of his economy at home. Yeah, he's long-distance mining that base in the center. Is he going to continue doubling down on the aggression, or is he going to try and play a macro game on the back of all of this damage? Because that's scary. Now suddenly the Swarmos, yeah, there's no more Nidus available, because I guess there's not enough cash for Dark to put those structures down anymore. But he can just walk them across. Hydra then is going to get targeted here by the carriers. Swarmos have reactivated their Locust. Now the Lurkers have come across the map as well. Okay, another Parasitic Bomb right there. Viper ends up getting sniped. Leftover probes together with an Archon going across the map. So much damage being done on both sides of the map. I like what MaxPax is doing here, though, because he just doesn't have... Dark, that is, he just doesn't have an answer against these flying units. So as long as MaxPax can reproduce any lost interceptors, so they're 15 minerals each, as long as he can replace them, I think it's all good. Okay, now he decides to pull the trigger. He doesn't want to lose all of his infrastructure, so he believes right now that he's done enough damage, and he's going to go after whatever he can save. Oh, getting to denying right there. Oh, on the +3 air weapons is absolutely massive. Dark dealing a bit more damage on his way out, and now these Zerg units have to run for their lives. So what's left over? All of these Zerg bases have disappeared except for the one over here in the top right-hand corner. Neural Parasite is being researched. This is a structure that MaxPax did not finish off. He could have finished it off easily, but he decided to recall instead. Should he have finished the infestation pit? I think he should have. Infestors are coming up. Dark has got a lot of gas, no minerals, but Infestors, yeah, that's something he can afford. Neural Parasite together with Burrow. You can use Neural Parasite while sitting underground, so taking control of these carriers is one way to get back into the swing of things for sure. MaxPax has decided to smash his piggy bank onto a mothership here instead. Carriers once again coming in. Okay, a robo facility goes down, gateway goes down. Do we have enough to kill the Nexus as well? He sees that there is a carrier, or sorry, a mama ship in production there, so that one does get denied as well. More and more Infestors are coming. Looks like a few drones apparently have sought refuge here, all the way on the left side of the map. Very far away from that top right-hand corner that MaxPax knows is still mining here for the Zerg. MaxPax does catch a couple units. I think he's made a mistake. I think he shouldn't have recalled yet. There was really no way for him to save all of this infrastructure anyways. I think he should have waited with the recall ever so slightly longer. Finish off the last tech structures over here and then call it a day. Because right now he's got to be so careful. How many Infestors are there? There's 7 of them in total. There is detection. MaxPax does have an observer here in the mix. Oh, here we go. Carriers getting neural parasited here by Dark. Dark trying his very best to turn those Protoss units against themselves. We have a couple of Hydras coming in as well from the right, trying to target fire down as much of this as possible. We even have that new ability. Well, it's been around for a couple years at this point. On the Infestor being used, trying their very best to reduce that damage. Another carrier pops out of the sky. 2 observers available. If you have 1 more fungal growth, I think that's it. Yeah, both of those observers die. And that means... Man, Dark is so good at playing the late game. That means that MaxPax at this point has no detection. He has got no way to see those Infestors that are burrowed underground. He decides to go for an Oracle because we saw him losing that robo facility earlier at home. Still though, he needs energy. At this point, Dark does not have energy for another Neural Parasite combo. These are, the drones also decide to use Burrow to save themselves. The hatchery cannot pop underground. In the meantime, yeah, sadly here, that Nidus Worm ended up blocking the perfect positioning for that hatch. So he decided to put it as close to that mineral line as possible. Brenda pops out, but she also decides to tunnel underground. He needs a little bit more energy. MaxPax wants to stick around here for as long as possible, but he also knows that this is getting very dangerous. He can avoid, or he can afford rather, a Void Ray, so MaxPax decided to smash his piggy bank and just produce whatever he can. Are there enough neurals available? He's gonna need, I think it's 125 energy on each of these Infestors for a Neural Parasite. Dark's hatchery falls. At this point though, MaxPax does not know about this base all the way on the left side. We have 1 Roach here, 1 Hero Roach, dealing as much damage as possible as well. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose track of these units, so Oracles have a skill called Revelation. And it allows them to temporarily, for I think it's 15 seconds, reveal cloaked units. And that includes these ground units as well that are currently tunneling around. Dark, yeah, on purpose, splitting up a lot of his units here to make sure that not all of them can be revealed at the same time. There's 1 Void Ray somewhere. Okay, gets spotted. Now, well, Dark is remining again on the left side of the map. MaxPax is completely broke. He's got 0 workers and no income whatsoever. So his goal is to win the game with this army. He's looking around the map, but he has not yet found this expansion all the way on the left. It's a weird one. He knows that this base would be blocked. So he's decided, yeah, it's more likely to see the expansion here all the way on the right. Overlords, scouting ahead. Yeah, providing as much vision as possible. Dark really just needs to see this army coming in. Honestly, that Oracle using Revelation on these Overlords is a big mistake. Okay, one of the Infestors not burrowed underground on purpose because he's creating a trap for some of these units to come up. Oracle reuses its revelation skill right there, but now it's out of energy. The Tempest switches sides temporarily as it tries to go after the other Tempest too. There's the prismatic alignment activated on the Void Ray as we have two more Infestors joining from the left side of the screen. Is there enough energy available though for Dark to continue doing all of this? The last carrier does stay alive for now. One more time, the Void Ray changes side, it snipes the last Oracle. And in one of the scrappiest games that I have ever seen, it's Dark who obtains the victory. I mean, you can make fun of me all you want, but this is definitely game of the year so far, okay? I always joke about this, but most of the time when StarCraft 2 players are pushed into a spot where they have to actively think about the game, that's where they play worse. A lot of StarCraft 2 players, myself included, we learn from our losses by looking at the replays and then deciding, okay, next time I'm in a similar situation, I'm not gonna make that error again. But this is not a situation you can practice for. This is a very strange game, and Dark pretty much always comes out ahead in those. It's insane.